Have you ever imagined that the story of Judas Iscariot, the man who betrayed Jesus, might have another version? What if Judas wasn't the traitor we've always heard about, but the most loyal disciple, the only one capable of understanding the mysteries Jesus revealed? The Gospel of Judas presents exactly that idea, challenging everything we know about him, about Jesus, and even about the purpose of human existence. Get ready to dive into one of the most intriguing and controversial texts ever discovered. First, we need to understand what the Gospel of Judas actually is. This isn't some recently fabricated text or a modern conspiracy. It's an ancient manuscript dated to the 2nd century, rediscovered in the late 20th century. It's part of a tradition called Gnosticism, a spiritual movement that thrived during the early centuries of Christianity. Unlike the New Testament Gospels, the Gospel of Judas doesn't narrate historical events. Instead, it reveals intimate conversations between Jesus and Judas, offering a glimpse into spiritual truths that few could comprehend. Right at the beginning of the text, we encounter something shocking. Jesus mocks the other disciples. He laughs at their prayers and the way they interpret his message. He says, "You sacrifice to your gods without knowing whom you serve." This harsh critique reveals a radically different view of traditional religious practices. Jesus exposes that many rituals performed in God's name have no connection to the true Creator. He points out that the God the disciples serve is actually Saklas, the ignorant one, a lower entity who created the material world. In Gnosticism, Saklas is identified as the demiurge, the imperfect creator of the physical universe. According to this perspective, the material world is a prison, a veil of illusion that conceals the true divine essence. For the Gnostics, Jesus didn't come to save the physical world, but to free human souls from this prison, guiding them to the eternal spiritual realm. And here is where Judas, the central character of this gospel, steps in. Unlike the other disciples, Judas is portrayed as the only one who fully understands Jesus' mission. In one of the most important passages, Jesus calls him the chosen one and says, "Separate yourself from them, and I will tell you the mysteries of the kingdom. You will reach a knowledge that no one else can understand." Think about that. Why would Judas be the only one worthy of receiving these mysteries? This is where the gospel flips the traditional narrative. Judas isn't the betrayer, but the only one brave enough to help Jesus fulfill his destiny. Another crucial moment comes when Jesus says to Judas, "You will sacrifice the man who clothes me." This statement is deeply symbolic. In Gnosticism, the physical body is seen as a temporary garment, something that imprisons the divine spirit. By handing Jesus over, Judas wouldn't be condemning him to death, but liberating his divine essence to return to the celestial realm. This perspective forces us to re-evaluate the concept of betrayal. What if Judas didn't betray Jesus, but instead accepted a painful sacrifice to fulfill a greater purpose? In the Gospel, Jesus acknowledges the weight of this choice when he says, "You will be cursed by generations, but your star will shine brightly forever." This passage is powerful. It highlights the duality of Judas's role. He is cursed by men, but exalted in the spiritual realm. Now let's talk about the apocalyptic visions in the Gospel of Judas. Unlike the Book of Revelation, which describes an end of the world filled with physical catastrophes, the Gospel of Judas presents a spiritual apocalypse. It says, "The world will be consumed by truth, and the chosen will dwell in the eternal kingdom." This vision is deeply symbolic. The apocalypse isn't about destruction, but revelation. It's a moment when truth illuminates darkness and liberates those ready to embrace spiritual knowledge. Here's something you might not have considered. The rejection of the Gospel of Judas by the early church might have been motivated by the power of its ideas. This text challenges religious authority and questions the traditional view of salvation. By excluding it from the biblical canon, it was almost forgotten for centuries, until its rediscovery. Now that we know what it contains, the question arises, why Judas? Why would he be chosen to bear such a heavy burden? The text suggests that Judas was spiritually the strongest, the only one capable of understanding that Jesus' true mission was to transcend the physical world. This narrative makes sense when we analyze Judas's role in Christian tradition. He has always been seen as the villain, the traitor. But what if he was in fact the misunderstood hero? Think about it. A man who accepted being hated for generations to fulfill a divine purpose. Is that betrayal or ultimate loyalty? Now let's take a step back and reflect. What does this mean for us today? If Judas was misunderstood for nearly 2,000 years, how many other stories might be incomplete? How many truths are still hidden, waiting to be uncovered? The Gospel of Judas also makes us question the role of religion in preserving or manipulating knowledge. Why was this text suppressed? What were religious leaders afraid of? Perhaps they knew that these ideas could free people from established power structures, offering a direct connection to the divine. And here's where I want to hear from you. What's your take on the Gospel of Judas? Do you think it reveals a hidden truth, or is it just an alternative interpretation? Was Judas a traitor or a hero? Drop your opinion in the comments. Your perspective matters, and this conversation is so much richer when everyone participates. Before we wrap up, I want to make a request. If this content made you think or brought something new to your perspective, share it with someone who might also enjoy exploring these ideas. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. When you like, comment and share, you help spread knowledge and keep this conversation alive. The Gospel of Judas is more than just an ancient text. It's an invitation to rethink history, faith and spirituality. It shows us that there's always more to discover, more to learn, and more to question. The big question is, are you ready to face these truths?